Hey guys, today's video is going to be a little bit simple vlog, kind of give you guys an update of what's going on with my land search. I've had a lot of people reach out to me, which is very flattering, and I appreciate it very much. So if you haven't heard, I mentioned it in a couple videos ago that I'm looking for a new farm. So I'm looking to buy a larger acreage and see how much I can turn up the dial with all this production. So the plan is to not change Green City Acres. Green City Acres will stay the same. I'm going to start another farm. I've been very inspired by Jean-Martin Fortier's new farm and a lot of the regenerative type farms that I've visited around the world. Been very inspired. It's actually what I wanted to do years ago before I got into any of this. The only reason I got into urban farming is because it was really the only option I had based on the resources and skills that I had. I've got little Violet today with me. She's we're giving mommy a little break, so I don't really plan on putting her in my videos, but she's gonna be here today because I can't put her down. So I want to take you guys through the process of what's happening. So I have been looking at land. I've visited a number of sites. I'm looking for 10 acres or more, and what the plan is to really only have about 2 to 3 acres of market garden on it. But I want to have enough land that I can experiment with other things, kind of whatever's under the umbrella of regenerative agriculture I want to try. And I also want to have a big enough facility that I can run education programs and have at least 40 students come at a time, as well as have some kind of element of agritourism in there as well. So it's kind of a threefold farm: education, tourism, and production. And so it's been an interesting last couple weeks that I've really started this journey of looking, and it is not easy to find a farm, I'll tell you that. It is very complicated. I mean, one is that you want to find a place that has a nice enough house that you're going to live into. I have zero interest in building a house. I don't have time for that. Don't really have the resources for it either. So I'm happy to move into a decent house. Maybe you have to renovate it a little bit. So that's been an important part of the search. But the part of the search that's most important, at least in my content and my context for you guys, is the land. And so I wanted to kind of just share with you a little bit about what I've been doing. So I do this very do-it-yourself, and I'm sure I've got some permaculture design friends out there, or you know, consultants who do designs. They're going to laugh at this whole process. But you know, for me, I don't care about perfection. I just care about getting what I need done, and this has been working for me. So what I do is I find a listing, and then I look at the listing. Does it have the basic requirements within a reasonable price point right off the bat? If yes or no, then I decide whether to move forward or not. If it seems like it's worth pursuing, I open up Google Earth and I put the address in there, and I'll actually do a little sample of this here. Is I open up Google Earth, this is a random property, and I will do some measurements. So I'll use the measuring tool in there to just get a sense of how much land is there. So okay, is it a yes or a no? I'll also move the camera around on the map to get an idea of the aspect. Is it facing the south? Is it facing the north? If it's facing the north, it's a no-go. If it's got too many jagged edges in it, if it's really a lumpy property and I can see a lot of rock there, you know, it's a no-go. But if I see something that's worth pursuing further, I'll basically I'll do a really simple calculation to figure out how much production I could get in there. And what I do is I'll use the measuring tool to figure out, I'll look at two parts I'll take a screen grab first of the image, then I'll paste that into a Word document. You can do this with Photoshop or anything really. And I'll take the measuring tool and measure from one point to one point that I can replicate in the Word doc. So I'll measure this one point. It might be, you know, 100 and something feet or whatever. It doesn't matter how many feet it is. Then, so I'll make a note, okay, from this point to this point is 100 and something feet. And then I'll go back into my Word doc that I've pasted this into, and I'll measure that same distance on my image. And that'll give me a distance in centimeters, I think is what is used here. And so then I'll just do a cross multiplication. If this many feet equals this many centimeters, how many centimeters does this many feet equal? So that's just simple, you know, grade 9 math. And then I'll basically from there have a template that I can start drawing on. And so I'll basically start drawing blocks of land on here. And so the way I'm planning to do this farm is to do it in 100-foot bed blocks, just like Jean Martin's farm. I haven't fully decided if I'm going to do 12 beds in a block with 1-foot walkways or 10 beds in a block with 18-inch walkways. I'm still kind of messing around with ideas before I settle on that. But in this one, I've got 12 beds in a block, and then that has an economic unit attached to it. In this case, it's what I'm referring to H3 or R3, sorry, is rotation 3. And I'm working on some new terminology that I'll update my book and I'll write another book about. But R3 just means how many rotations would fit in that bed. And so these blocks that aren't going to have any greenhouses on them would be R3. And this is a bit further out from the city, so I probably get a little bit less rotations because I'll be a zone or two colder. And so I can assume 3 rotations per bed per season without any season extension, so that number of what that economic unit is there. And then I also have ones where I might have caterpillar tunnels on. So some of these ones here, they have 2 caterpillar tunnels on with a few beds in between, and so those blocks can generate that number there. I'm not saying the number because I don't know what it is off by heart, but it's on what you see. And then I basically, you know, I'll put some greenhouses in there. With greenhouses I can get R6, so if I grow super fast growing crops like the ones you know me for, in a high tunnel I can get 6 crops in a season. And so that has an economic unit attached to it too. So basically what I do is just throw in a bunch of these blocks, see how much can fit in there, and then I'll total up a certain revenue figure, and then that's what I'm looking at. So the farms that I've been looking at have been around the $1 million range with full production. So that just means what they're capable of producing. It doesn't mean, that's no guarantee, of course, that I'm going to produce that number, but that's a target. That's a benchmark, that's something to work with. And so that's kind of what I'm looking for as far as land goes, is I want to be able to farm enough high value crops that we can target $1 million in revenue. So I know that number sounds really high, but that's what we're going to try. We're going to try and do it and see if we can produce that much product, and if we, you know, ultimately can we sell that much product. That's what it really comes down to. So this farm is most likely going to be a year in the making, and I haven't decided if I'm going to bootstrap it or if I'm going to seek investment capital. So I've had a number of people reach out to me asking, hey Curtis, why don't you open it up for investors? And I might do that. I'm not opposed to the idea, but I do, you know, part of me wants to bootstrap it. I mean, I've got some cash that I can put into this, but I imagine a farm like this is probably going to cost $500,000. I don't have $500,000. So, but I might, you know, start with 100 or 200,000 and then get the production going, see how it's going, decide how to recapitalize then, whether it be through private equity or finance, or just building capital in the farm and then reinvesting that into the farm to grow it, like I have Green City Acres, just on a slightly larger scale. So that's kind of what I'm thinking. That's how it's looking right now. It's exciting, it's really fun. I really enjoy tinkering and drawing these types of things and imagining what a farm could look like. But I'll tell you, it is not easy to find the right kind of farm. And land here is expensive, which I'm okay with. I'm actually of the mind that I would prefer expensive land that's closer to the marketplace that I want to be in, opposed to really cheap land that's really far removed. A lot of people have emailed me and put in the comments, Curtis, why don't you buy land in Prince George or a place like that? It's because I don't want to live in Prince George. I don't want to live out there. I want to stay in my community. One thing I've learned, and I've mentioned this in many of my videos before, is social equity is, in my opinion, the most important form of capital or resource that you have available to you. Family is obviously the most important, but the relationships that I have in my hometown are more important to me than saving a few $100,000 on land. I would rather be in my community, in my network, and have access to markets that I know I can sell to than going to some place really far away. So, you know, we're still kind of city dwellers to some degree, so that's where we're at. We're looking for land in Kelowna, and the search is on. I will certainly keep you guys posted as to if I nail down a place and make an offer. And well, I won't make a video about the offer. You won't see any real major thing to report on this whole project until I've made a purchase. Then I'll start taking you guys through the whole process. I'll be vlogging the whole way through, and you know, teaching workshops and stuff like that on the farm too. So you'll definitely see a lot of that. So that's the thoughts for today. That's the vlog. Hope you guys have a great one. I'm gonna take this one back inside, and I'll talk to you later.